Hi guys, my name is Melody and thanks for stopping by. And always remember, if you do like me, you do like this channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave comments, and let's have a discussion below. Today's book I am reviewing, as you probably seen from the title card, is Who Am I Again by Sir Lenny Henry. He is a comedian, actor, and general person of knowledge. He had, let's just say, he's been in loads of TV shows, he's done Shakespeare and everything, so he's run the gambit. This book is only telling about his early years, from the time he was born in 1958 to about 1980. Now, he also has an English degree in literature, an honors degree from the Open University, and an MA in screenwriting, television, film, and he has from the Royal Holloway University of London, and he has a PhD on the role of Black people in the media. So he was given that in 2018. So he is a genuinely educated, brilliant man, and this tells of his struggles in his early life as a Black man of Jamaican descent, his parents being first immigrants to Britain from Jamaica with his brothers and sisters. He was, I believe, one of three that was born in Britain, but there was he had seven or six other children, so I think it's 7 in total, so it was a big household. So I'm going to just read the synopsis of the book, and we'll get started on just discussing a little bit of it and what the content is and if I enjoyed it or not. Obviously, you know, I am a big fan. This has been on my reading list since it came out in October 2019. However, because I am at home now and I am not studying constantly, I have had time to read some books. So the synopsis on Goodreads starts out with, "How do you beat the bullies and the bigots? Here's how. The heartbreaking, inspirational, and very funny story of the man who overcame so much and won a very special place in the nation's heart." In his long-awaited autobiography, Sir Lenny Henry tells the extraordinary story of his early years and his sudden rise to fame. Born soon after his Jamaican parents arrived in the Midlands, Lenny was raised as one of 7 siblings in a boisterous working household and sent into the world with his mom's mantra of integration, integration, integration echoing in his ears. But 1970s Britain was a hard place and a bewildering experience for a lone Black teenager. A natural ability to make people laugh came in handy. At school, it helps to do the daily racist bullying. In the park, it led to lifelong friendships and occasional snogs. Soon, it would put him on stage at working men's clubs and Black country discotheques before an invitation to a TV audition changed his life forever. So his mother came to the UK on her own, and that's where she had Sir Lenny Henry, and his father and his brothers and sisters followed soon after. Now, the book actually has like comic book. It has pictures in it of his life as well as comic book strips, I believe, that he made himself. With like his mother and telling him to integrate and everything like that. So there is a lot of racist language in it, but he uses it as saying what he had went through, and it is purposeful for the fact that this is his life and that's what happened. Also, he won a show called New Faces in 1975. And after that, that's when he went into the black and white minstrel show. And for my American viewers, if you are American, you will know that this is blackface. It was like he was the only Black man in a show where white people were putting on blackface to take the show. Now, I was actually quite shocked about the black and white minstrel show because it was on TV, and it ran from, the TV show ran from 1958 to 1978. However, the touring company actually lasted until 1987, and that's, as like somebody who views that as an extremely racist sort of concept, is just shocking that it ran so long. He wasn't in it that long, to be honest with you. So he was in it for a few years, but the book also tells the struggles that he had with himself being in a show that is remarkably like stereotyping black people and people of color, and it's just the story is actually an extremely good one as well, because you learn about Britain in this time period and how people acted. A lot of the book that he does as well, what is really good is he actually writes in the vernacular that his mother spoke in and his father and his relatives spoke in. So he writes in the voice, the accent of Jamaican people, which is actually really good, because like if you've ever heard him speak, because I think the way he tells it is like he had a different way he spoke at home than a way he spoke out in the world. So like he spoke with like maybe a Jamaican accent at home, and then outside he spoke with a Dudley Birmingham accent in day-to-day life, so that he was able to switch between the two. And it's a lot about switching between two cultures sort of thing, like this Jamaican culture and then the British one, and how they conflicted, how he adapted, because when he got into comedy, he used it to diffuse situations where he would possibly be having to fight because of racial abuse within the school that he went in, which is extremely sad. And I know this is like can be a quite difficult subject, but it's something that people need to know, is like learn the experience of others and sort of thing. So it also goes on, and apparently I didn't know a lot of this. So he was in a TV show called The Fosters, and The Fosters was a TV show based on Good Times, which I used to watch when I was a child. And he was on this TV show for a year and developed relationships with this other people. But he also said that when they were developing this TV show called The Fosters, the people who were developing were white, because people in charge were just white men at the time. And they didn't take into account where the actors were from, what their background was. They're just like, they're all black people, we will stick them in this show. And that's something that I think is even relevant today, because I think that sometimes people do that. Like, so if they take people that wouldn't necessarily be together and put them together, so you wouldn't do that. Like, you wouldn't have like somebody with, say, all these people are the same, so you wouldn't put like a Jamaican daughter with like a Guyana father, because they wouldn't have the same accent. And that's what he spoke about, is like they didn't have the same accent, but because they were all black, they all lumped them in. Well, they're just black actors, we're going to put them in here. And ignored the cultural past of the people and the actual significance within the TV show. I hope I'm explaining that well, because I'm not sure that I am. But then after that, he got put on Tiswas, which was a children's program, but it was a very like funny children's program, and he went around and things like that. But he's still navigating, because there wasn't a lot of black men or even black people on TV, so he's still trying to navigate this this landscape which of mostly white British men who controlled everything, and he was trying to break it through. Now, we do know that he did eventually break it through, and there's a point in that where he says that he wished he had been more active in being an activist for racial minorities, discrimination, and things like that. As he grew older, I believe that he has done more things like that now, which is very good. And he's part of the original Comic Relief team as well, which is, if you don't know, Comic Relief raises money for charities in both the UK and other countries such as Africa. I think Africa is a big one because of lots of schools have been built and getting clean water to children and things like that, and helping to educate and bring them out of poverty. I really enjoyed this book. I think it was an eye-opening experience for myself, because a lot of times we don't hear the stories of minorities within like the country being broadcast. I mean, he is a famous person, which is probably why this book was pushed to the forefront of everything. But I mean, I would have read it anyway because I just like him. But I think that stories are important, and we need all these stories in our lives to create the history. Because if I hadn't read that, I did not know how long the black and white minstrels ran. That's just, it shows the systematic racism and things like that in the UK, and how they've embedded themselves in a very long time. As well as that, is that his mother always wanted him to integrate and be more British so that he could navigate the system. I think that was important part, is that you need to integrate so that you are like them, so that you can achieve your goals. Because there is a part at the beginning where he's a teenager and he goes to a technical college and things like that to attempt to be, I believe, an engineer or something. And he's working in a factory because that's a good job, or that's what they thought a good job was. But as we all know, in the 80s there was strikes and things like that, and a lot of depression in the era, and a lot of that set down. But he ended up writing it through and coming across, and I really do look forward to the next book that deals with the 1980s onward, because this is actually a good read. He's very well spoken. The writing is absolutely brilliant. I enjoyed the comic strips in between that showed his mother. There's a lot of good laughter as well. There's points where it is funny, but it's also points where it's very poignant, and you never wish anybody to have that experience that he had. And like I said, there's a lot of racist language, and it's just to let you know how people used to call black people within that time period. It's probably still used today. I know that I don't like that sort of language in front of me. I wouldn't let anybody say that, and if they did, I would probably well, I know I've yelled at people and got in their faces, but that's me. But anyway, I would recommend anybody read this book, not just because Sir Lenny Henry, but because it actually reflects the time period that he grew up. And you learn a lot about his family and his mother, and it's absolutely a brilliant story. It's a lot about family as well, and how there's such a good family bond between him, his siblings, his mother, his father, everything like that. But there's some sad bits in regards to that. I won't tell you the details unless you already know, because you may already know if you've watched his movie. It's semi-autobiographical, Denny and the Human Zoo. And then I believe he was on a genealogy show as well, where he went back to Jamaica. That's a good one to watch as well. And it tells you a little bit more about the background, but he also talks about that in the book as well. But this is mostly about the navigations between a system and trying to achieve something while trying to push away the systematic racism that is embedded, especially in the 70s. I think I've said that too long, and if I have said anything wrong, please correct me in the comments, because like I say, I'm not the expert on this. This is just what I've gotten from what I read. But yeah, this book, I think I read it in about 2 days because I couldn't put it down, and I just wanted to keep seeing him progress. And even though I know where he is at now, it was just a whole, you just rooting him to get the best during the whole thing. So thanks so much for watching. If you are in Scotland, if you are in Fife, please remember that there is a event on the 1st of August for Black Lives Matter. It is at Pittencrieff Park in Dunfermline, or as we call it, the Glen, from 1 to 4 o'clock. I will leave a link to the Facebook site below. There's also going to be links for things that you can read and information, and to get involved and to make sure that this is not a trend, that we do make changes in how people are treated across the world, especially, well, how Black people are treated across the world in regards to police violence and systematic racism. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.